Good afternoon, everyone. Today I have part 2 of our 6-part series on immigration with all-star immigration attorney Joaquin Rosales.
How you guys doing? Nice to see you again.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Jim.
So today I want to talk to Joaquin about about investment visas. About immigration, about investment visas. And Joaquin, tell us about the different types of investment visas that are most common and what you're seeing. Give us a little overview and then I'll ask more specific questions.
Sure, Jim. Okay, so in general, there's two main, investment worlds, visas, right? One that leads you to a permanent residency, which is the EB5, that a lot of people are familiar with. And then you have a temporary visa, which is an investment visa, which is called the E2. For the EB5, like I mentioned before, you can get a residency, you and your family, wife, husband, children under 21. And you can, reside in the United States. Obviously, it's a substantially larger investment. It's right now as it is. The law is going back and forth, but they're going to settle on something soon. Originally it was $1 million. Then about a year and a half ago, it got changed to $1.8 million. But then now they brought it back to $1 million because of a lawsuit. So it's changing, but let's just, for the sake of this video, let's say it's $1 million. Obviously, there's all the requirements. There's something called either a direct investment EB5, where you put in the money, right, and you have to have at least 10 American jobs created in order to apply for this visa. And then there's another one, which is a subset of the EB5, which is called a regional center. Right now that's on pause, but essentially the idea is that you crowd fund essentially the investment from all of these foreigners, and that investment is put on a fund that is sanctioned by the government, and it's called a regional center, and they do development, etc. You don't have any control of that. You don't really manage it or administer the investment, but you do get residency in the end as well. The other one that I was talking about is the E2 visa, and then the E2 visa, like I said, is a temporary visa, and it really depends on where you're from, because your country you have to be the national of the country who has a treaty with the United States, a commerce treaty with the United States. So we can go on to the internet and find out E2 treaty countries. So essentially there's no specific amount of investment like the EB5, but the investment has to be substantial in correlation with the business that you're doing, right? So depending on the business that you're doing, you have to sort of make the argument, we have to convince immigration that that's enough, it's a substantial amount of money for that particular business, right? In order for the business to grow and impact the economy and also offer jobs to Americans and residents, which is basically the one of the main points of this visa.
So I want to dig in a little bit into the EB5 first, because we see there's the EB5s and there's different ways, whatever, to get it, and then there's the E2, which there has its own little things going on. So the EB5s,
yep.
You said you can have a direct investment,
correct,
or a regional center investment,
correct.
In my experience, and I would love, obviously I want to know your experience, but the regional center investment is more popular, because if you're going to invest this much, a lot of people want to do the hands-off approach, and a good example of that is right behind us. I think the one building over, the Brickell City Center, I think 10% of it was funded via
I'm not sure about that particular project. That particular project, but there are some projects here in Miami for sure that are
but that's regional center.
Exactly. So essentially, you're absolutely right. It'll be like a mall or something like that, and then essentially it's to get a little bit in detail about it, is that it has to be either in a rural area or in an area where there's high unemployment, right? But you don't have to particularly worry about that. Like I said, the regional center is already sanctioned by the government. They're approved by the government.
Is that affected by gerrymandering? I've never used that in a conversation before.
That's more of a voting thing. But
okay.
But yeah, so you essentially don't have to worry about where is it at or anything like that. All you have to worry about is that you get in on a regional center investment. Like I said, that particular program is paused right now. I'm pretty sure they're going to bring it back. But like you said, it's actually
that's not on right now.
It's not on. It was paused recently, but
recently paused. I imagine they'll bring it back, right?
They'll probably bring it back. Yeah.
So right now it's direct investment. The most important thing is picking the right investment. You don't want to lose your money.
Right.
Couple follow-up questions.
Yep.
How long until they get their green card? Like, what's the timeline?
Well, right now, I mean, it really depends. Obviously,
EB5. Yeah.
Oh no, you can say 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Right. But these things change constantly. Obviously, due to the pandemic, things have slowed down, but things are starting to pick back up right now. And next year or even in a couple of months, there's something called the visa bulletin, and it basically tells you like how long these things are taking, right?
Oh, okay.
To process certain type of visas. So you can look at that, but they can change substantially within a couple of months.
When the visa bulletin comes out, we'll do another video.
Every
month.
Every month
we'll do our visa bulletin update. That sounds fun. We should do that.
It is.
So it takes, let's say, 2 years, 3 years.
Yep.
Generally, these are low return investments, so you're just hoping to get your money back.
I mean, the main focus, at least for the regional center ones, right? Direct investment. Obviously, you're actually managing that business, right?
Yeah,
it's not like you're just putting in the money, so that's different, and obviously you can probably make a really good return. But at least for the regional center, you're not looking for a huge return. The purpose of that is just that, right? You put in this money in this fund, and you will get a residency. That doesn't particularly mean that you're going to lose money, but this isn't a vehicle to. There's other vehicles to utilize your money to get better returns, right? But the purpose is to be a resident. So
it depends. I mean, if you want to buy a business or buy a warehouse or something that's there, and you want to spend $1 million, $2 million, and buy let's say a warehouse with 10 employees that has a client base, it's going to keep running the same. That would work, right?
No, yeah. I mean, right. Given all the details, but in general, the idea, yes, you're absolutely right. So I mean, the main purpose of the visa is to stimulate the economy, to employ people, so you can have your own business idea or your own businesses that are already functioning, and you can sort of utilize this visa to get a residency for you and your family, while at the same time getting really good returns on your investment.
So you heard it here. If you want to invest in a business in the U.S. and bring your whole family here with green cards in a couple of years, just buy a business. So wait, a quick question. Last question about the EB5s, because I'm learning stuff too. If I'm in Brazil, let's say, if I'm in Kazakhstan and I buy a warehouse with 10 employees, can I come here right away and manage it, or do I have to wait 2 years to get my green card to come here and visit?
Well, all right. So I have to sort of correct you. That is that you can't. You have to create 10 new jobs.
10 new jobs. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like you buy a business and it already has 20 people and its personnel. Like you have to add more to it, or you have to show that. If it wasn't for the investment that you put in, certain amount of jobs were gonna be lost, right?
Okay.
So essentially, that's the whole purpose, right? You want to bring in investment so you can employ more people here in the United States. So that's what that does. But like I said, obviously there's other. If those numbers are too big, obviously not everybody has $1 million, half $1 million, depending on what you want to do.
But do you have to wait until you get the green card to come into the U.S. and manage some of the business?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, just like any other visa that you have, like we've mentioned in previous videos, you're not married to one particular visa, right? So you can have a process ongoing and then come to the United States in a different type of visa, and then
so you can start an E2, get the E2 approved, and then apply for the EB5.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, absolutely. So that's great. I think I've actually learned some on the EB5 there. Let's get to the E2 visa now. You mentioned that it only applies for certain countries. You have to have a treaty with the U.S., and you can Google search it. Does Kazakhstan have an E2 treaty with the U.S.? And
I'm not sure that it does, to be honest. I have to look it up myself. It's a pretty long, extensive list, though.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm interviewing you, but there's another visa. If you're interested in the investment visa, there's another entrepreneurial visa we're going to talk about that came out last week. In the next video, that's super interesting. We're not going to talk about it in this video because it's new and it deserves its own video. But regarding the E2, it's very similar to the E5, just way scaled down and faster, and you don't get a green card.
You don't get a green card, but you can renew it as many times as you like. We've mentioned in previous videos about this. We talked about this, that you can renew it as many times as you like. It's a very flexible visa. Obviously, you can bring in your family, and so long as other things or requirements are fulfilled, like the whole national of a country, a treaty country. You know, it's pretty straightforward, and it's not as much money as the EB5, right? But like I said, you have to show that, you know, there's a substantial amount of money being invested for that particular business, that there's a risk, that your money is at risk, and essentially that means that your money can't just be idle, right?
Yeah.
You can't just transfer it to a bank account, or you can't just buy an apartment. That's a question I get all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I have an apartment in Miami, I'm going to buy an apartment in Miami. Does that count as an investment? No, because, you know, that's sort of passive income.
It's not,
you have to, it's not a business. You have to show immigration that you're serious about putting your money at risk, and that entails spending the money. So just to give you an example, let's just for sake of argument, let's say you're investing $100,000 and you're not particularly buying a business, you want to create your own business. Well, the way that you prove to immigration that your money is at risk, and then it's a substantial amount, is that you obviously create all the entities, and you that's where you come in. You create the corporate entity structure, right? The bank accounts and all that you need. And then after you transfer the money, it doesn't just sit idle there. You have to spend the money. We have to do leases, get machinery, employment, marketing, and all that. Those expenditures are the basis of our application to the government. We say, look at all these things that this fine gentleman right here has spent. He's serious about investing here in the United States, and that's why we've done all these different expenditures in order to get this business started.
Great. So these investment visas are very nuanced. They have some stark differences. Most notably, the result of it. If you're a green card, and I'm gonna jump in for the tax part. If you have a green card, you pay tax on your worldwide income. So if you're coming from another country, you have businesses in your home country, it could create some problems. And if you come in on an E2, you can just spend, and you want to be able to travel freely and come into the US and have a house here and spend like half the year here and half the year in your home country, you can manage that without being a US tax resident and only paying taxes on your US results. So that's very attractive for some people. That's apart from the initial investment, that's usually kind of the determining factor. Do you want to apply every year and not be a permanent resident, or do you want your green card and you want to live here? Those are the kind of the biggest decisions. And if you need help making those decisions, schedule a call with Joaquin, because he talks about this stuff all the day, and he loves taking E2 calls. If you have a business idea, he would love to talk about it.
I love to hear new business ideas. So
yeah, so thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, follow wherever we are doing this, and contact Joaquin if you have questions about immigration, me about taxes, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. We have better ones, not better. We have more coming. Thanks.